Is at the White House for us with the latest on those strikes. Lucas.
John, these are the most significant airstrikes since President Trump returned to the White House, and the first time since Trump returned to the White House. U.S. officials say F-18 Super Hornets from the flight deck of the USS Harry S. Truman were the vanguard of the strikes, along with Air Force fighter jets and drones. President Trump announcing the strikes just a few minutes ago on his Truth Social, saying, quote, Today I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American. And John recalls, just days after taking office, one of President Trump's first executive orders was redesignating the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization after the Biden administration removed them. The State Department made it official earlier this month, marking Houthi leaders ripe for assassination. The targets in today's strikes include air defense systems and missile and drone factories, and also include a strike against one of the Houthis' top missile officers. The Houthis are backed by Iran.
I was smiling because, I was thinking that it's difficult to think about a crisis that hasn't started in the U.S.
But we're also optimistic about the U.S. now.
I mean, it's just...
How can we mitigate that, Sergio?
No, I mean, this is the cost of having such a great country and economy with innovation and so on and so forth. So that is a risk-reward kind of issue. The truth of the matter is that the Americans and the U.S. is able to learn out of a crisis and to change quickly to restart the engine. Yeah. That's what we need to learn outside the U.S., particularly in Europe. Yeah. How to use crisis to reset and change.
Resolution mechanisms in the U.S. are very efficient. So
simpler.
In popular words, cleaning up the mess after the mess has been created is more efficient in the U.S. than anywhere else.
So what should we learn from the U.S.?
That is what we can learn from the U.S., I guess. Also,
never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
I think I agree entirely with Klaus. We can't predict, but we can try and make sure the system is resilient. And so look at the system and see where the weak spots might be building up. I think whenever you look at a financial system, you talk about two things with great importance. One is solvency, which also means leverage. And the second is liquidity. I think we understand solvency reasonably well. It's the liquidity part, which is something which is behind the scenes, which is part of the plumbing. And what we're seeing increasingly, especially with what is happening with the greater focus on U.S. markets, U.S. markets now 65% of global equity markets, but lots of capital flows, maybe with the deregulation even more going into the U.S. The center of liquidity is the Federal Reserve. And you have to ask, is the Federal Reserve going to step up every time there is a problem? Look at what's already happened. We saw in the global financial crisis, the Federal Reserve balance sheet went from 50 billion to 2.8 trillion. Okay, then it came down, but it couldn't come down all the way. At 1.5 trillion, it backed up again in September 2019. Fed came back in. Again, it started trying to reduce its balance sheet. It backed up this time in March 2023 at 3 trillion. The question is, the Fed is supporting the US system, but now increasingly it's going to support a global system. And the question is, what are the gaps? Can it bridge the gaps? So think, for example, what happened in March 2023. It could not support, the system itself could not support the small and medium banks. The Fed had to come in to support them directly. What about internationally? What about stable coins? Are they going to be in the system or out of the system? Who's going to support them? These are the kinds of things we need to examine going forward, because this is where the problems might arise.
Predicting the next shock is hard. But here's what we've seen if you go back in time. We've seen that anytime there is friction, friction is the path to innovation. And if you look at the innovations that have come from financial constraints, open banking is a great example. The fact that half the world now moves digital money in a wallet of some sort, again brought by financial constraints, because so many digital wallets come from local payment systems. They're not interoperable globally, but that allows people to transact digitally. And if you build onto that, where we are with Gen AI and the things that have advanced very important things to financial systems, especially in commerce, which is understanding the identity of both the seller and the buyer, there is so much innovation that has come from constraint. Now, is that enough? No. But it certainly forebodes that as the world gets more unstable, we're likely to see more innovation.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Trump starting the drums of beating on the Ides of March. You can't make this stuff up. And these dates are so important spiritually, but you know I'm not going to go over that. But it's definitely like clockwork. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And you never let a good crisis go to waste, because you can do things you would have never been able to do. And every global crisis we've seen, you can clearly see the NWO agenda right behind it. And this time the agenda is the fourth industrial revolution. And crypto will take the blame for the next crisis for the legacy market falling. Don't forget, guys, the Fed printed 80% of all money in existence in 2 years to build this new digital economy. And all new technology that we have was tested by either the military or the government first and then moved to the sheep. When you look at social media, the old saying that some people are meant to be in your life for a season, for a lesson, or permanent, with social media, everything is permanent and never moving on. And we know that affects adults, but just imagine how that affects kids. And we know most adults in a child state of mind right now anyway. And then on top of it, you have the sheep create these false illusions of themselves. But guess what, guys? That's setting up for the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And they know crypto has utility and the purpose, with all these big banks and big corporations already using blockchain and these digital assets. And we know the big banks and big corporations funded this from the beginning. You know, I've done plenty of videos on it. But they don't want the sheep to understand the technology. They just want them to use it. So when they merge these digital currencies, these digital goods in the metaverse, your life becomes a video game. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
For example, in payments, certainly stable coins are worth exploring. We need to figure out how they will play a role in, certainly in crypto payments, but also digital, all kinds of digital payments. I think the jury is still out on what the true valuation of crypto assets is. Of course, they're on a tear. I think, the issue of should they be held by pension funds, insurance companies, and so on, I'd love to see it go through a cycle before I think we should be really confident that they will maintain the value through. I think the broader issue of payments as a form of inclusion that Susan was talking about, I think is huge, especially for the emerging markets. The question, again, from a financial stability point is we've got many more inroads now into lending based on the information, for example, that is generated through transactions. The question is, should the lending be the leading edge of any kind of financial transactions people do, or should they first learn financial management?
As long as we take crypto for what it is, a highly speculative asset class, then, our citizens are free to choose their risk profile, right? So where I think it becomes worrisome and where crypto would have the potential to become a financial stability risk is if these investments were somehow combined with leverage. if people sort of borrow a lot to invest in crypto, and then because of the swings in the inevitable swings, I would say, in market prices of crypto, all of a sudden can't redeem their obligations anymore. So as long as it is clear that it is a highly speculative asset class and nothing else, and we make sure that we are sufficiently sort of aware of the interactions with the traditional financial system, because that's usually where the leverage comes in. Let's not forget that banks are the most leveraged institutions in the financial system, is always something to keep in mind. So as long as we keep that in check, there are many traditional asset classes. Now, there is a small, let's say, exemptions I want to make, and that is, of course, stable coins. Yep. That's a different class, a class with a much higher level of pretension. Yep. Only the term stable coins has a certain level of pretension. And that, I think, requires tighter regulation and more oversight, because there you have also the issue of the reference value, of the implicit promise of redemption that is there, etc.
But Governor, as chair of the Financial Stability Board, how do you engage with the Trump administration, who frankly has put crypto as one of the first executive orders that, at the center of their administration, to try and understand how Europe and the U.S. can either diverge or cooperate?
Well, first of all, there are no counterparties yet in U.S. Treasury, because the whole nomination process of first the Secretary of the Treasury and then the Undersecretaries, the assistants, etc., etc. So we have to first await until that process has taken its time, and then we will have to see. I mean, the only thing we can go at the moment is some of the statements that have been made during the campaign, but then again, that is not a basis for me to make policy on. What we have been doing in the past within the Financial Stability Board, we found I would say, delicate balance between the different views that were there in the membership on crypto. Some of them in our membership wanted to have an outright ban. They didn't want to know anything about value added of cryptos. Others, more market friendly, saw the innovative potential and more took the view that you only regulate where you have the risk, but first you should allow the many flowers to flourish, etc. Now, what we found, I think, is an equilibrium where we designed a global regulatory regime of crypto, which was not a ban, which was focusing on the risks, but which can only be successful in case of international cooperation, because these products are entirely fungible across borders. You can nowadays take a server under your arm, put it in any country, and start issuing these crypto assets. So it can only work if we continue to have global cooperation, and this will be one of the first messages that I will ship to my counterpart once there is a counterpart.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, well, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're going to get more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.